This is the Transformers Authentics Alpha Megatron. I picked up this figure from my local Toys R Us store for about 12 bucks. A little over 12 bucks, about 12.50, 12.40. And this is the brand new 2024 packaging. And if you remember the old 2023 packaging, it looks something like this. It had the alt mode right there at the top left corner, whereas the new packaging has the sort of the grid specs design of the headshot of the character. They're trying to save money. There's less color in that, so I don't know. And for a while I was thinking, is this a refresh? Is this a packaging refresh? Is this the same old Authentics Megatron that I reviewed a couple years ago? But it looked very different. The color looked different. The paint scheme looked different. It looked actually pretty cool in the box. And then I realized the old Megatron, Authentics Megatron, looked way different. It was like a cartoon gray color. This one is a little bit more of a deep gray color with lots of pink details and a different transformation, a different tank. So I guess this is version 2.0 of the Authentics Megatron. I think they did the Authentics Bravo, not the Alpha, but they were more or less the same. It transformed into this really horrendous looking tank. It had a really interesting robot mode. I mean, it wasn't the best Megatron, but this one looks very, very promising. And here is the Authentics Alpha Megatron out of the box. And you know what? He's not terrible. I mean, for an Authentics figure, you'd expect it to be really for the younger demographic, a younger target audience, but the figure's actually pretty well detailed. I love that they've highlighted some of the parts with some really nice paint apps. The plastic is glossy, really nice marbling finish on it. And that head sculpt, I think that head sculpt is the one that really sold me on this figure. Let's take a closer look at the details of this new Authentics Alpha Megatron. Head to toe, the figure stands at about 18.5 centimeters tall, or about 7.25 inches tall. And for comparisons, here he is with the Siege War for Cybertron Trilogy Netflix Voyager class Megatron. And you can see he towers over him about a centimeter taller than a Voyager class figure. So he could well pass for a Voyager class figure. Now, I love the sculpt. I love that each and every piece of this figure has different paneling. There's the molded in sculpted details. He's got a lot of paint highlights. I mean, even to rival this figure, the thighs are painted silver. You've got the crotch piece painted. You've got the abdomen piece painted. You've got the faction symbol, almost exactly the same size as this one. It's a really nice purple color. The head sculpt is painted beautifully. We'll talk about the head sculpt later. I mean, there's even silver highlights on the biceps. You've got paint apps here on the knees, on the shins. I mean, they had budget to paint this guy. The hollow pieces are there, obviously. It's an Authentics figure. They needed to do hollow pieces. That's really to put down the cost of the figure so they can sell this at a lower cost. That doesn't bug me as much as daddy long legs, giraffe legs that this figure has. When you first take him out of packaging, you'll notice the legs. The legs can be a little bit disconcerting. They just feel too long. And I think it's the illusion caused by the knees being way too high. Had the knees been here, it wouldn't be so bad. But the lower legs are just really, really longer than usual, and it's kind of bugging me. But the more you look at it, the more it kind of grows on you, and the more it feels okay. Like right now, I'm looking through the camera, through the view screen. It kind of looks okay. So let's talk about that head sculpt. I think this is the main selling point for this figure. The head sculpt is influenced heavily by the G1 aesthetic of Megatron. And I can see a little bit of Cyberverse, maybe robots in disguise into it. So it's kind of cartoony G1, but I do like it. I love that his eyes have been painted red, those bright red eyes. He's got a silver face. And the plastic that they used, I mean, for the head sculpt and overall the figure, it's just really terrific. You get a little bit of marbling, glossy pearlesque feel to it. It's a little softer than usual because these are hollow bits, but they're not flimsy soft. They're not Studio Series flimsy gummy soft. They're very hard, solid plastic, but they bend and they have a little bit of a give because they're hollow. But otherwise, they're pretty solid. The figure also comes with this fusion cannon. I mean, this is a cool looking fusion cannon. I would have preferred actually they cut off this extended nozzle or barrel, but I don't know. They probably needed extra length for tank mode. But it would have been cool if they didn't have this. It would look more like his G1 fusion cannon. Articulation for the figure. The neck is, I believe it's on a ball joint, but it's really more of a swivel. But it is a ball joint. You can kind of wiggle that neck. No waist or torso articulation. The shoulders are on ball joints. I would have wished a little bit more movement, range. Like they could cut that piece right there. The socket, they could have made a little bit of indentation that will allow you to just move the arms a little bit further so you could just point the gun sidewards. He's got an elbow hinge, which is shocking. For Authentics figures, normally they just have 5 points of articulation. He's got wrist articulation, mainly probably because of transformation, but it's a ball joint on the wrist. He's got a ball joint hips that, get this, are on drop down. Ball joint hips. Classified series articulation for an Authentics figure. He's got a thigh swivel. He's got a hinge knee and a little bit of an inward hinge right here because of transformation. The feet go up and down on a hinge. He's got no rocker tilt, but the feet have been sculpted at an angle so that the feet are kind of tilted. Transformation. Unplug the weapon. Go ahead and fold the fists inward. Fold up this panel up like this. Go ahead and rotate the shoulders. Raise the arms up, straighten the elbows. Fold the shoulder panels and then collapse the arm assemblies onto the torso. Shins, or the legs, the panels rotate this way. Rocket launchers or blasters, side blasters rotate this way. Go ahead and fold the feet up like that. The inner panels are going to fold out like that. You want to rotate the legs at the knees. Then you're going to just fold the legs inward like this. You don't really tab anywhere. Kind of tab onto some very thin tabs on the torso, but that's just about it. Now the panels, you're going to tab them together, line them up, and they'll form the tank turret. All that's left is really to put the gun on the turret. And there is Authentics Alpha Megatron in tank mode. No wheels, but it's smooth enough, so it's not going to scrape your tabletop so much. The turret doesn't really move. The gun doesn't really move. It's okay. We don't really expect a lot from an Authentics. Not a big fan of the flimsiness of the tank mode. I just wish it could have tabbed in a little bit more solidly. I love the involved transformation. It's not as simple as I thought it would be, even for an Authentics figure, but it kind of lacks solidity, if there was such a term. I mean, I wish it could have tabbed in better, making the tank mode a little bit more solid. I wouldn't have minded not having any wheels and not having a movable turret, but I would have wanted a solid tank mode so that the parts don't come off as easily as, when you start playing with the tank, it just loves to come off. So it's a shame that it wasn't as solid as it could have been. So let's do some comparisons. Here he is with the Siege Netflix Megatron. As you can see, they're almost the same size, with him being a little bit longer because of the feet. Put them on top of each other, discounting the feet. Maybe if you could fold the feet back up like that. Kind of about the same length, even with the gun barrel. So definitely could be a legit Voyager class figure, albeit a more affordable Voyager class figure. And so some final thoughts on this Authentics Alpha Megatron version 2.0. The figure is surprisingly good. it's not horrible. It's not as horrible as the other Authentics figure. Plastic quality they use is pretty solid. It looks and feels cheap because of the hollowness of the sculpt, but the entire design and sculpt of the figure I thought was pretty premium. As far as the silhouette goes, those long legs are just bothering me a little bit, but after a while, you kind of get used to it and it kind of grows on you. Articulation on this figure is actually beyond what I expected from an Authentics figure. It's got an awesome fusion cannon and an incredible head sculpt. And I think that head sculpt alone will sell this figure. Paint apps look fantastic. They've gotten enough budget to paint a lot of pieces on this figure. The transformation is pretty involved, pretty interesting. It's not annoying, but the lack of solidness for both the robot mode and the tank mode kind of puts a downer on this figure. And I think that's what really kills this figure for me. It might have been something they could have worked on, maybe come up with thicker pegs, thicker tabs. That would have really solidified the alt mode and the robot mode, and that would have made this figure a little bit better. Now, having said all of that, I think the figure deserves a 5.5 out of 10. I was expecting this one to be like a 2 or a 3 out of 10, but it certainly isn't as horrible as the other Authentics figures that we've seen from Hasbro and Takara Tomy. Let me know what you guys think of this Transformers Authentics Alpha Megatron version 2.0. Is this something you think you'd purchase for your collection? You think this is one of the best Megatron figures we've had in a long time? Let me know in the comment section, and as always, hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.